Welcome to Subject to Change. I'm Jodi Smits-Anderson. I'm here with Lauren Stanek, my co-host, and we're speaking with Roy Atkinson about machine learning, AI, and his geeky origins. Thanks for joining us.
80% of the information points that are collected by organizations, meaning companies, is dark data. And that means nobody ever analyzes it.
Ooh.
Nobody ever does anything with it.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. When you see the little microphone in the lower right, click on that to learn more. We're so glad you're here.
And so it's one of the big opportunities for some of the things that I'm really interested in, like, called AI, machine learning, is able to munge through that stuff and produce some predictions and some trends and some.
Yeah.
Why do we have all this stuff sitting around that we're not using?
Why is it collected and then never used?
Oh, you see, you're asking questions that the companies never do.
Right.
How many surveys just go, and you might have a really, really intelligent comment on that survey, something that could save the company thousands or even more dollars. Who looked at it? Nobody.
This call may be recorded means every call.
If we look at the information that's collected by contact centers,
right?
It says, your call may be recorded. That's BS. Every call is recorded. Every single one of them is recorded, and they're kept. Those calls are all stored. Now, historically, the main reason, when we get right down to it, the main reason that they're stored is so that you can yell at the contact center staff. A tiny fraction of those calls are ever analyzed because the managers and supervisors simply don't have the time to do it. They just don't. Coaching is a really important thing for people who manage and supervise in contact centers to do with their staff, because the turnover in that industry is huge.
Yeah.
A lot of the people are newbies. They really don't know what they're doing. And a lot of companies don't have good knowledge management, so they're not getting the information they should have.
Machine learning, or AI. If the world were yours, what's the first thing that you would tackle? It's not, I know, really. I face that reality every day. It's very hard. But if you were going to tackle, what would one of the first things be that you would be curious about enough to task some AI power on?
Actually, that dark data is one of the first things I would look at. I would say, look for, and I would come up with a series of things that I would want to discover about what's sitting in there. Yeah. Just the ability to look at conversations and see, take the customer side of those. Let's stick with the recorded calls here for a minute. Take the customer side of those calls and look for certain keywords which indicate that the customer is getting progressively upset. Okay, well, what are the common threads here? Right? What are the common threads? And I bet you in any given company, you would find the same things over and over and over and over again.
It's brilliant.
There's some very innovative companies out there that I've worked with or talked to and so forth. Some of them have built into their contact center software systems the ability to do AI coaching. And like I said, coaching, contact center managers and supervisors can allot about 7% of their time to coaching. That's it, 7%. So now with AI, you've got the ability for the software to coach. And so contact center reps or agents, whatever they're called in that particular company, can be there. They can be talking to a customer, and either on their screen or in their ear, it will say, several customers have had the same problem. You might want to look at this particular knowledge article, or you might want to say this, right?
How cool is that?
It's brilliant.
Guided AI interactions.
Let's look at the ways that Alexa and Google Home and Siri work. And let's focus on that type of technology and provide that type of a voice channel. Number one, because of the extensibility of the software tools,
Right.
no waiting.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's no longer a synchronous conversation between two people.
Right.
It's a conversation between you and technology, and it's natural language processing involved. That's part of AI, right? So
Yeah.
now you can have a conversation with nobody at the other end other than the software itself, but the software knows a ton of stuff because it's
Yeah.
analyzed all the data and can provide you with the answers. And if it can't, can hand you off to somebody who can.
So that's
Right?
that's yeah, that's a there are a couple things that occurred to me in how you were portraying the AI interaction. I want to tell you, like, it was a leap for me, because when you started talking about analyzing that dark data, what I thought was a very linear process, and what grabbing the data and assessing it. What you talked about was an in the moment responsive process. And that in and of itself is a way to look at data that I hadn't considered. So I really appreciate that, because that is pushing me to understand that data is not a dead resource, but an active in the moment process as well, which I think is really, really powerful. And go ahead, Lauren.
So then I actually have another question. So while this is happening simultaneously, if the person on the phone, for example, has the ability to have the piece in the ear or something on the screen, is then that manager or coach level person seeing trends? Is this data then being taken as trends, and then they're expanding upon the coaching in a more generalized way, and then also taking it up the ladder? Or maybe AI is taking it up the ladder too. I don't know.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's exactly what's supposed to happen.
That's cool.
What the managers are going to be looking at is, analytics of every sort, including predictive analytics. Well, what's the call volume going to be like tomorrow? Since we released this product today, what is that going to mean to our calls tomorrow? Do we have the proper knowledge distributed to our reps to be able to respond to questions about the new product? All of that stuff.
Data is not dead, not anymore.
You're absolutely right in saying that data is not a dead resource. It's not static. Not anymore, anyway. Maybe it used to be, but not anymore. And I say it advisedly. I've gone back and forth with myself about, is it singular or plural? I'm classically educated. I know data is plural. I say is. Tough.
A story about happy interactions.
I work with a company, it's a Finnish company called Happy Signals. Isn't that a great name? They look at specifically people's interactions with IT support, right? The service desk. And they have their tool is constantly grabbing little bits of information so that people can give feedback anywhere they are in that support process. They've got well over 1 million responses from 130 countries. Okay. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
One of the things that they found, interestingly enough, and still trying to figure it out, and I have no insight on this. Sometimes we have chats and they say, well, what do you think about this, Roy? And I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. Happier countries have less happy employees. It's harder to make them happy in their interactions with IT support. The happier the country is, the less happy their happiness index is. Isn't that interesting?
That's kind of mind warping.
Yeah, my guess is this. The people in those countries are very used to having things go right.
Yeah.
Right? The Swiss are happy about having the trains run on time. Scandinavians are happy and chocolate and watches. Their expectations are very high. So when their expectations aren't met, they have a tendency to be not happy.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you would think then in state government work, everyone would be very easily satisfied at work. It's not really the case.
One would think.
Keywords or smarts?
There's a couple of different kinds of chat. There's chat that's based on keywords.
Mhm.
And there's chat that actually has some smarts behind it.
Mm.
And it also has to do with configuration of either or. Generally, the ones that have a keyword backend are not as good as the ones that have some smarts. And I'll just say some smarts, meaning machine learning algorithms, all that good stuff. A friend of mine named Chris Shagnon is a doctoral student. Boy, he better get that soon. He's been a doctoral student as long as I've known him. Bill Ryan at RPI.
Oh, yeah,
Jodi, you
Bill.
remember Bill?
Dr. Bill.
Wasn't he a doctoral student, professional doctoral student?
Yeah.
Chris Shagnon
Awesome.
is like that, I think. But Chris does work with artificial intelligence and knowledge. And one of the things that he has done is he's designed some systems for customers to use that don't have any dead ends. Everything is connected to everything else. It's really important for the chat to be set up properly and hopefully have some smarts so that it's doing more than just searching on keywords in a knowledge base, because you're going to run out of that real quick.
And that's almost a replication of what a human could do if they bothered to Google, right? So you don't want to just have a time constrained process that's led by a machine. That's a process that you could do yourself.
Yes.
You want to have a little bit of facilitation in there. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wait, is it she, her, or it?
I'll just keep going until somebody, whacks me over the head and says, well, it's my turn to speak now.
Oh, I love that.
But in any event, I think we've covered an awful lot of the bases that
this is great.
We set out to do. I think, Jodi, you mentioned quickly that you had questions about how I got interested in AI and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I was a tech head from day one. When I was a kid, I think it was sixth or sixth grade, I think, we started learning binary math, ones and zeros, right? Mm-hmm. And we had to learn binary math. And so we had to convert numbers from decimal to binary, binary to decimal, decimal, binary, binary, decimal. And I found it incredibly boring to do, and I hated it. And so I came up with a device, a primitive electronic thing that would do it for me. And I could, it was ran on punch cards, which is how computers were back then in decade. And so I could plug in any number between 1 and 100, and it would light up a series of lights that told me 1010 111111 000. And so I was a geek, and
wear it with pride.
Yeah, you bet. And then, when I became very serious about academia and went down that road, I was doing my music in the background all the time. Then made the decision to become a full-time professional musician, if that's what I was, I'm not sure, but make some money making music anyway, and did that for a long period of time. But eventually the geek side said, sir, I have some things I would like to do. and so, the whole realm of, I find it fascinating, the entire realm of artificial intelligence, machine learning. People will argue when you say artificial intelligence, you get smacked in this business. But it's not artificial intelligence. It's algorithms and machine learning and that. Okay, fine. The world calls it artificial intelligence. Let's just do that. Okay. But I find it absolutely fascinating. I find that so many people are missing the boat. Mm-hmm. There's some great work out there on it. Human plus machine. It's wonderful work that came out of MIT and Stanford that talks about the missing middle. Machines are great at this stuff. Humans are great at this stuff. Let's make this work together and figure out who does what. And it's part of that feeds right into that contact center scenario.
Yeah.
Right. With coaching, and the idea of having an Alexa-like agent
Yeah.
on the other end. So there's great stuff. I mean, the potential is enormous. The fear is also enormous, because the potential is there for some real miscarriages of technology, and having this stuff is not emotional, it's not empathetic, and that's the scary part. It's the Terminator look at it,
Yeah, I was going to
So-
say, which is your favorite AI movie or novel that gives you the biggest creeps or gives you the biggest hope?
What was the name of that? It wasn't She. There was another one that it was a guy who went to this software magnate's house, and there was an intelligent entity in the house, and you got to know her, and was kind of falling in love with this robot.
Oh,
But you know the movie.
yeah, with Scarlett Johansson was the voice. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Okay.
But anyway, that was
Her?
pretty good. Might have been her. There was a her and a she and a
Yeah, her. It's her.
it. We don't talk about because that was something entirely different.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in it.
But in
That's
any
so
event,
funny.
that was pretty cool. But just in terms of day-to-day life, we're stumbling over this stuff now, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
your phone. That's
really
amazing
cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Our house
It
is
is, and I don't
automated.
mind because I'm not doing anything worth tracking, so it's fine if it wants to listen to me. If
That's
anything,
what
we're
you
getting
do.
more podcast views.
It doesn't know what worth it means. It doesn't trust me.
It's so
Doesn't
funny.
make any judgment. Point A, point B, same thing.
Yep. Same thing.
They can.
Thanks for joining us for Subject to Change.
Yeah. So
Roy, thank
we'll
you
think about
so
that.
much
Yes,
for
thank
your
you.
time and your brain, which is a data collection portal that astounds me every single conversation we have. I am amazed by how much you have and how much you're able to find.
Yeah.
It's a great processing system you've got there.
A friend of mine says, how do you get this stuff in your head so quick? And I said, it's all in RAM, baby. It's all in RAM.
It's all in RAM.
Loads up in the morning, and that's it.
That's good. This has been very gracious. I'm sorry I have to run away. I would talk
I
longer,
actually
but-
have to jump into another meeting. So
Oh
Oh,
boy. Okay. We gotta go. We all
Thank
have
you.
to go. Thank you so much, Roy.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
thank you for asking. I enjoyed it immensely. Thanks.
Yeah.
And great,
And we'll-
great to see you, and great to meet you, Lauren.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
and we'll fill you in when we post it so that you can watch it and then say, oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah, I already know.